Hello, friends. Are you ready to hear the rest of the tale? Then let us commence. Last time we checked in with our heroes, we found Minko embedded with a group of freedom-fighting Fae known as the Resistance in a city called Once Was. And, let's not forget, Minko was in a sort of between state, there but not there, as the Resistance called them. And he could only interact with specific members of the group like Bandamun. Remember him? When interacting and communicating with freedom fighters in the full-on prime material plane, the there but not theirs had to use an intermediary. That is, a member who was able to sort of telepathically communicate with them. One such member that Minko met was a ratman named Aurelius. Something interesting the intrepid monk learned was that the Resistance were believers in a prophecy put forward by someone called the Bard. And before you ask, yes, this is most probably the same Bard the other Ragtags keep finding scrolls from. In the prophecy, which was actually more of a call to arms or even a manifesto maybe, the Bard clearly states that salvation for the oppressed people of Hivernaeon could come thanks to a saviour from beyond. But it could also, and should also, come from within, so everyone should all band together and rise to the challenge and kick off the revolution on their own. Unfortunately, from what Minko could tell, everyone in the Resistance seemed to stop listening after the whole saviour from beyond thing, and the entire movement was essentially stalled out in the sewers beneath Once Was. Minko didn't have time to unpack all of this with anyone as he was introduced to the three leaders of the Resistance, an unsurprisingly motley bunch of grizzled Fae. Ferrin, a spring Eladrin, seemed very young for their most likely long years, although they sported deep and vicious scars that seemed to indicate a dark backstory. Gruff the Green Man was a gruff-looking, moss-covered Fae that wore the trappings of a woodsman ranger type. And finally, there was the Dryad Marina, enigmatic and aloof, though clearly unimpressed with much. After this, Bandamun introduced Minko to a hag named Auntie Olea. Olea was a member of the Resistance who, among other things, was able to teach the there but not theirs as how to influence and interact with the prime material plane more consistently and definitively. It was going to take a little while to learn, but it all sounded very promising. Meanwhile, over in Coldmire, the Ragtags left the crevasse they had detoured into where they had found the spring heart. Well, like after they faced off against an undead Eladrin sentinel that had been keeping it safe there for centuries, probably. The spring heart was literally the heart of Sir Dermot, an Eladrin knight that had betrayed his oath and had been turned into an undead Ice Lord called Hivernaeon that wandered the wastes of Coldmire. I don't know. Feeling sorry for himself, I guess? The heart was a weapon that could be used to vanquish Hivernaeon forever. The logistics and reasoning behind it all has a very Fae flavour to it, so best to embrace that and just go with it. After leaving the crevasse, the heroes discovered another scroll by the bardo Regan O'Dale that described how the spring heart was secreted to the hidden crevasse by a group of knights called the Lost, and that it waited for true heroes to come and take it, and use it to end the curse on Hivernaeon by, yes, killing him with his own magical still-beating somehow heart. Is that irony? Or was it tragedy? Ironic tragedy? Both? Neither? Woof! Can't help you there, mate. Heading into Coldmire for another day or so, the Ragtags made some progress. And the spring heart helped them combat the harsh environment of the icy realm. They did, however, run into a couple of nasty frost giant zombies that gave them some problems for a bit. But using various types of flame and fire, they managed to defeat the undead behemoths. Here they found another scroll by the Bard. This one went into how the Spider Queen lost her eggs and her sister, Morgilla, and son Valrillin told her that the giants took them to eat. The Spider Queen was understandably mad at this, and cursed the giants to never rest while in Slanhain, and then also declared war on the giants. A war her son waged on her behalf, whether he wanted to or not. Because they could never rest, the giants would be killed and then rise as undead creatures and on and on. That explains the busted up zombies the heroes ended up fighting, I guess, eh? We catch up with the Ragtags now, continuing their trek through the long rime of Coldmire, looking for Hivernaeon, or a way through into whatever is beyond this frigid place. Actually, it's swamps that are next, if you were wondering. Cold, misty, meandering swamps. Oh, but that's not for a bit yet. Still lots of frigid, unforgiving frost and ice and undead giants to go in good old hospitable Coldmire, eh? Ha ha! Making good time through the foggy, frigid ice wastes, the Ragtags found the landscape changing slightly. Oh, sure. It was still a winter wasteland, but now there were tall, sharp, craggy, rocky hills covered in ice and frost and snow, instead of a more flat expanse. Beyond it all seemed to be some highlands looming as well. There was a narrow, winding path that led through this stretch of tall jaggedness, and the companions warily pressed through in their own various and unique ways. Eventually, the way opened up into a series of cliffs with a 60-foot-across chasm between. Across that was an old stone fey-built bridge, and on the bridge the hero soon saw was Hivernaeon. Well, and plus a guard of 6 hobgoblins in strict formation blocking off the bridge behind him. After a few moments of weighing their options in hiding, Hivernaeon, who seemed to know the Springheart was nearby, telepathically summoned the Ragtags to parley. Hedging their bets, Drogon stealthily made his way along the edge of the cliff and then, thanks to the cloak of Arachnida, he moved into a rear flanking position under the bridge. Vragel, who was holding the Springheart, Unia and Varys approached Hivernaeon on the bridge while the rest hung back.
"Let us put an end to this,"
Hivernaeon said.
"Give me the Springheart. Give me what is mine, rightfully, and I will let you leave Coldmire freely and unharmed."
After a vain plea to appeal to Hivernaeon's non-existent desire for redemption, the talks broke down and the battle began. The icy Fae blasted Regal, Varys and Unia with a cone of cold that, even with the warm help of the Springheart, hit the heroes hard. Then Hivernaeon's frozen steed appeared from the ethereal plane to drop off an ice troll, and he immediately started clawing and biting everyone, but also chilling them with an aura of freezing cold. With Hivernaeon attacking Brace, Regal was forced to use the Springheart, knowing that the explosion would probably harm and possibly kill the Dragonborn sorcerer, but his brave friend waved him on to take his chance. Regal struck the Eladrin Ice Lord, and the Springheart detonated, doing serious damage to him and stripping away much of his cold power. Despite that, things weren't looking great as Braze, Varys, Ansers and Devrina were felled at different points of the battle. Keeping with the pixie polymorphing trend of late, Dimplemist turned Unia willingly into a Triceratops, and yeah, that was pretty great. But then Hivernaeon attacked and paralyzed the Triceratops with his freezing grip. Drogon managed to stay hidden under the bridge, popping up to take shots at various foes. And Varys started to control the crowd with his churning radiant spiritual guardians. So that finally, as Hivernaeon attempted to escape on his steed, Regal was able to land the final blow on the Lord of Coldmire, sundering his armor and vanquishing him from Mirkir-Hain forever. With that, the Eladrin's surviving minions scattered and the battle was won. While it would take some time to fully happen, signs that the land of Coldmire had begun to thaw were apparent all around. Needing a moment to recover and take it all in, the Ragtags steeled themselves for the next part of the journey. And while, yes, things looked to have improved with their victory here in Coldmire, it was looking like the next part of their journey would be no less daunting, and probably even more dangerous.